to get us prepared for this artificial change in intelligence and function.
So Manoach, the Shabbat, Shalom, the peaceful seas, the dwelling place, the ending of the day. This is with 120 degrees east and 120 degrees west. Make out the peaceful ocean, the Pisces, the Pisces, the Pacific. So Manoach, what means rest. So when you see the peaceful, the Pacific Ocean, and the Shalom seas, the peaceful seas, Pacific Ocean, and Manoach, the resting place, the home place. Understand the connection, how Disney. So the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The still waters, right? The still is Manoach. So you see Disney, Manoah, and the Shabbat, the dwelling place, the restful, the peaceful ocean, the still seas, the peaceful seas. So the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The still waters, right? The still. So Manoach, what means rest. So you see the peaceful, the Pacific Ocean, and the. So as you see the Pacific, understand the pacifier. So when you see the Pacific, so you look at the Pacific Ocean and Shalom, the dwelling place, the resting place, the ocean. So the Pacific time zone, the 120 degrees, 60 degrees from there brings you. So the ability to be in this 8 Pacific time zone and observe. So we talk about the Masons and the building and the rising of the sun to build a new day. And so 120 degrees west, we understand that 90 degrees. So California, the cap. So we understand when the sun is at 90 degrees.
Yeah, Ra'ah, the shepherd, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That shepherd, Ra'ah, the shepherd stick, the lamed, the staff, right? The guidance of the wind of Shu. Understand Yeshua, Joshua, Joseph, Yeshua, the holder of the sky. You understand the 4 pillars, the 4 pegs of the tent that hold up the tent.
So the Sabbath, which means to rest, right? 6 days of work. On the 7th day is the day of rest. Most High completed, cease all his work. So understand the completion of man at 120 degrees, the cap and the resting place of.
When you look at Hawaii, understand the luau's, the lael, the night, and the hips, the twirling, right? Hula hooping, or Honolulu, understand lael, the loop that it takes for levitation, for the completion to rise up of the 24 hours to rise into a new day. So understand that ladder, right, that builds up a saw to make a saw and a star and the Pacific Ring of Fire and the Pacific Ocean.
forms oaths as signs, as signals to qualify narratives and stories and different memorials that needed to be appointed at certain times. This is why the seasons. So ancient Hebrews crossed over from the ancient lands here in America over into the other lands, establishing law in all their lands. This is why the seven American principles are seen. Queen of Sheba, and these travelers with the forms oaths as signs, as signals to qualify the lands here in America over into the other lands, establishing law in all Pacific Ocean, and the soothing of the sound, understand the ocean, and Shalom, the dwelling place, the resting place, the oath, the mark, it passed into the ring of fire. Understand this is the Pacific Rim, or 120 degrees east, which forms the western border, and 120 degrees west, which forms the Four Horsemen. So 120 degrees west, we understand that 90. So we look at California in the dawning light, understand so as you see the Pacific, understand the pacifier. So when you see the Pacific Ocean and the soothing of the sound, understand Puget Sound and the Kala, the complete, the cold, the whole. So the Pacific Ocean and the Pacific Rim, when you understand how the borders that make the rim are 120 degrees east and 120 degrees west that form this ring of fire, this destruction. So as you see the Pacific, understand the pacifier. So when you see the Pacific Ocean, so the Pacific Ocean and the Pacific Rim, when you understand how the border, as you see here, when the sun sets here in the west coast at this 120 degree mark, it passes. So we look at the four horsemen, the four heads of Genesis, right? Understand the ring of fire, the bait. So the Pacific Ocean, right, is the borders of that make the Pacific Rim, right? So the ability to be in this 8 Pacific time zone and observe so 120 degrees west, we understand that 90 degrees. So the Pacific time zone, the 120 degrees, 60 degrees from there brings you to the middle of the ring of fire. Then another 60 degrees from 180 of the ring of fire brings you to the 120 degrees east.
I left the head, right, to understand the plower in Ogun and the plowing of the land and the husbandry that men must do to make sure that the perfection of agriculture and cultivation was being maintained to the standard of perfection, to be within its season and due season, to bring about fruit and bread, to prevent famine, right?
As you see here, when the sun sets here in the west coast at this 120 degree mark, it passes into the ring of fire. Understand this is the 120 degrees east and 120 degrees west form this Pacific ring. This is so the Pacific Ocean, right, is the borders of that make the Pacific Rim are 120 degrees east, which forms the western border, and 120 degrees west, which forms the eastern border of the Pacific Rim, as you see here. So we look at the four horsemen, the four heads of Genesis, right? Understand the ring of fire, the basin, and how in this direction that is formed by the 120 degrees east, right, and 120 degrees west forms the. So we'll talk about the masons in the building and the rising of the sun to build a new day, a new beginning. Right, we must destroy these old concepts and rebuild upon the original foundation that was laid, the four pillars. So the ability to be in this 8 Pacific time zone and observe the completion and the ending of the day is what made capitalism here in the Barbary Coast of California essential location. So the western border of 120 degrees west, understand the California-Nevada border, this region, right through the Bay Area Strait of the Golden Gate, provides the merchandise for the mainland. So the United States time zones, when you look at it, every 15 degrees, right, there's a total of 45 degrees, so that's 4 time zones. So when you look at the time zones here for so 120 degrees west, we understand that 90 degrees is the Mississippi Valley, and 30 degrees from there brings you to the border of Nevada and California. This is the mirage of see here 120 degrees west, I understand the vision of the heart to see across the golden angle, the golden mean of 18 degrees from the sun setting and from the sun rising, as you see from the 120 degrees west. So California, the cap, as we understand when the sun is at 90 degrees in the Mississippi Valley, the cap, the vision to see into the Fertile Crescent across the 33 degrees of the Masons of the Giza Plateau. So when we look at capital, we have to understand the 8 ball and the 8 time zone and 120 degrees west, and how it forms the rim of the eastern side of the Pacific, and 120 degrees east forms the rim of the western side of the Pacific to create how much merchandise comes into the coast of California. When you understand the gold rush and the need to conquer the barbarian coast of Santa Barbara, Southern California, Northern California. So Yalamu, which is also the name of San Francisco, you understand the Ohlone and the oak, the golden rule, the golden mean, what goes around comes around the harmonic law. When you see the dude. So we look at California in the dawning light. Understand the Westerner. California was called here in San Francisco Yalamu, the Western people. So you understand the diva and the divine light, the dawning, and the tribe of Dan and the to understand the vision of the heart, to see across the golden angle, the golden mean of 18 degrees from the sun setting and from the sun rising, as you see from the 120 degrees west.
You know, call me crazy, but I think a lot of the issues and problems that we see, from health all the way to finance, are a lot more simple than we make them out to be. We've just been led to believe that these systems are way more complicated than they've been made out to be. But it's all commerce, it's all energy, and it seems like it's just complications. Like there's just like a watch. Time's pretty easy when it comes down to it. But the value in watches comes from the complications that are added to them. It's engineering. Everything's been engineered to be more complicated and more complex. And the more complicated and more complex things get, the more problems that they seem to manifest. So, bring it down to the simple. A sundial tells time just as well and just as accurately as a watch. That $5,000 Omega sitting on a billionaire's wrist, he had to go through a lot to get it, and it tells time just as simply.
Praise to the Most High. Oh, praise to the Most High. Yeah, ready to die. So ready to die. See, I was born to die. So I'm dying to live, living to die. Dying to live, living to die. Don't matter, I'ma praise the Most High. I'ma praise the Most High, whether I live, whether I die. Dying to live, so I'm living to die. No matter what, I'ma praise the Most High. Said I'ma praise the Most High. Said I'ma praise the Most High.